I was interrogated. More than once, it was in Kamishi, after the bathhouse. I hit the jackpot and went in for questioning. Then, there... Well, basically, I'm walking in, and there's this, a cage, and sitting there is a SWAT officer on guard. I was walking and he looked at me and asked how I was feeling. I replied that I was fine. He said that things would get even better. I was surprised, but okay. So I went where he told me to go, namely to the basement. I stood by the wall, and they brought out a guy with a bag over his head. They forcibly took me there, blindfolded me, pushed me to the ground, and said, "Well, are we going to talk normally?" I replied that we could talk normally. "How many civilians have you killed?" They ask me, but I haven't. Then they say, "We see that you don't want to talk normally." They say, "Fine." Then attached an old telephone called a tapik to my fingers, specifically my little fingers. They also attached a tapik to my toes. They started turning it so that it would deliver electric shocks, poured water on me, used a stun device, and struck my heels. And they kept asking how many civilians I had killed.
And there is no right answer.
No, there isn't.
Whatever you answer, it will continue. How long could it continue?
Oh, I don't know. I was there for about an hour, maybe even longer. I didn't count the time, but I endured it. I returned to my cell very exhausted. Well, you know how it is. You know, it's so extreme there that you don't keep track of how much time you've spent there. It's something like that.
Just again, it's interesting that off the air we were talking, I asked you about the hardest period, and you said that it was in the hospital. Tell us a little about that.
That happened later in the hospital.
What happened there? Was there a reception priyomka at the hospital?
In the hospital, they tied me down, which was the worst part. And I'm telling you, when I ended up in their hospital, I'll tell you in a moment, in the city of Vladimir, I think. They have a clinic for prisoners there, and I had problems with my leg.
Was there no priyomka at the hospital?
Yes, there was.
That's so funny.
There was a priyomka there. So I got there, went through the reception, they took me to a cell, and I changed my clothes. And after that... Actually, they changed my clothes. I went into a cell that was meant for 2 people. And also, there was a toilet, everything inside. And I was already thinking that now I would lie down and rest. Yeah, sure, I'll lie down and rest. And I lay down, and they tied me up like Jesus Christ, just by my hands and feet. It's something like that. And I lay there like that. They also put a medical mask over my head, so I couldn't see anything.
Over your eyes?
Yes, well, but I did it like that and just removed it so that I could at least see what was happening, because you don't know what was going on around you, at least what time it was. At first, they even covered the window with a blanket, so that we couldn't see and didn't know whether it was evening or daytime. Well, you know, I'm sure that...
Why is that?
So that we would be disoriented, if I've spelled that word correctly. It's something like that.
Yes, but you're already in prison. What else can they take from you?
They were just putting psychological pressure on us. Well, I think it's them. Plus, they were feeding us some kind of psychotropic drugs. They forced us to take some pills and checked to make sure we swallowed them. And after that, you have to show that you've swallowed them. Local prisoners brought it crushed, mixed, and gave it to us. This was so it would work faster. I drank and showed it. And so the other guy and I ended up in the hospital. They kept us tied up for a week, then untied us.
So you're tied up there the whole time?
They kept us tied up for a week, then untied us.
The first question was, how do you go to the toilet?
To go to the toilet, if I needed to take a leak, they untied one of my hands and I had to lie on my side and hold the container with one hand. Everything had to be done with one hand, holding the container and your genitals. After you finish, you put it back. The prison guard came, looked, poured out the contents, and that was it. It's something like that. If you needed to go number 2, they untied us, and the prison guard stood and waited. We were allowed about 5 minutes, maybe less. We had to do it extremely quickly, then lay down, and they tied us up again. For eating, it would be the same. The guards waited and watched us.
And the doctors who were there, were they civilian doctors or Federal Penitentiary Service doctors?
They were FPS doctors, but actually they were both FPS and civilian doctors.
And they walked around and watched you tied to the bed and they were okay with that?
Yeah, and they don't care. It's normal for them.
Okay, what kept you from...
Have I lost my mind?
I wanted to say going nuts, but okay.
It is my family. When I was still in Mariupol, and after that, I asked my mom to take a family photo. He took a family photo, but unfortunately, it has not been preserved. I remembered it, and I lived with the fact that I had a family, and I lived with the hope that they were alive, and that everything was fine with them. That helped me a lot. That really helped me.
You know, you are like Dominic Toretto. Family is the most important thing there is. This is awesome.
For me, family is the most important thing.
And you kept that photo in your head all this time.
Yes. Even when I was being beaten, I understood and always remembered what my brother had told me. They will beat you. They will do other things to you. He said, cry, scream, but don't give up. That's all. When I got out, he met me, and I repeated those words to him. And I told him that family photo remained in my memory. And also, even when they were beating me, I could see our family photo in front of my eyes. That's all.
Man, you're awesome.